Yeah, welcome to learndatamodeling.com. And today is the second session of this online training. I would request the professor to continue forward. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Anthony. Let me share my screen. Anthony, privilege me the sharing ability.
Kindly check now.
Yeah. So just to recap, Narayan and Rajesh, what we discussed yesterday. An entity is an object about which the company is interested in storing data. Attribute is characteristics of the entity. The relationship will come back. The conceptual logical physical model. Conceptual model is nothing but a bird's eye view of movement of the business data within the company. It consists of entities, group of entities or major entities, associations. We don't call it as a relationship at this point of time. We say, hey, these things are associated with each other. Maybe one or two attributes are at least the primary keys. Logical is a full-blown data model with entities, attributes, relationships, keys, and it's normalized. Physical is a model which will help us to generate the DDL for deployment in a database. Resolved for many to many, subtype, supertype. These are all definitions, you can read it. And at the conceptual level, how do you identify an entity? Look for the noun and look for the category person, place, thing, concept. Okay. And then how do you name the entity? It should be a singular, no redundant, and then no abbreviations. These are all the things that we have seen yesterday. I pause here for a second. Feel free to ask me any questions in the concepts that we discussed yesterday, because I'm going a little slow because I want you to ground and understand thoroughly, because this is a foundation of any other data modeling like relational or dimensional modeling. So that's why I'm going a little slow, but I want you to know, thoroughly understand without any beyond doubt. I pause here for a second. Feel free to ask me questions.
I don't have any questions as of now, but my point, my only question is, can you please share these documents with me? I don't have all these things.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. We will share it, because there should not be any conflict of interest. So I'm preparing a separate document for you guys to understand.
Okay.
But whatever we talked or whatever I shown in the class will be shared with you.
Okay. Fine.
Let's
And
do.
whenever we are working on, whenever we are working in any company, okay, so means whenever they are giving the data, so we need to take some keywords and all, right, in that one.
See, there are two methods, or there are many methods people follow how to do a data model. Like, for example, usually it is called a JAD sessions, JAD, Joint Application Design. That is the session it's called. Assume that you are a seasoned data modeler, you joined as a data modeler / data architect in a company, and if they request you to design a data model, usually the process is you schedule a meeting. You schedule a meeting with different folks. So what are the different folks? The first important person is business analyst and business owner / like whatever, whoever related to business. Remember, conceptual logical model is only for the business to understand the flow of the data within the organization, period. So you always must talk to the business guy, business analyst, business owner, no, whatever you call. The business guy who knows the business. That is the prime guy that you're going to talk to. Then you're going to talk to a DBA. Then you're going to talk to the IT guy. All those folks, relevant folks who touches the data. DBA is the guy who stores the data. IT guy is the who is going to update the data. So who is touching the data, those folks you will talk, but primarily you are going to talk to the business guy. Having said that, You schedule a JADE session and then you prepare a questionnaire, send it to them to ask questions. For example, simple example is, can you walk me through how the business is being done? Okay, that's where you start. The first question you ask is, hey, business owner, can you walk me through how the business is, your business is being done? Like as we discussed yesterday, State Bank of India, how the business is being done, a person going inside and he is blah, blah, blah. So then when he narrates the business, you start asking questions. How do you uniquely identify a person? What kind of account types you have? How do you know the account types? What is the account type name? Is the account types will change? What is the uniqueness? Can one person have many accounts? What will happen if the account doesn't have any money? Like these questions, kind of a interaction. You try to get more and more and more and more. In this way, as soon as he talk, you can scribble notes or you can start drawing the entities in a paper, or if possible, like use a tool. As soon as you talk, you can do it. Very simple way you can do it. Like make a box and then title it. Like for example, say, oh, we are having like for example, Dig Sporting Goods or whatever it is. So hey, there is a prospect. So there is a difference between a prospect and a customer. What is a prospect? A person who visits a site is a prospect with the intent of buying something. Okay. Then what is a customer? Oh, customer is a person who already bought a thing. Oh, this is the difference. So that's a description. So a person, a a prospect and a customer. Both are persons, remember. Both are persons. So how is these guys are related? A prospect walks in, make a box, and then related to buy a product, and then related to like a customer, something like that. So you slowly build, and then you ask questions. You come up with a conceptual model first, then give a walkthrough to the same business guy. Okay, this is what I understood, why we are talking. Okay, let me see whether I am rightly understood your concepts. Then you walk them through. How did you understand? One more thing is, when you do the data modeling, after you finish your conceptual model or logical model, it should be in English. When somebody read the logic conceptual model from left to right, it is kind of English. Oh, like for example, oh, Jack Smith, a patient walks into a clinic. Oh, I see. Okay, a patient schedules an appointment with a doctor and he visits the doctor. The doctor diagnoses the patient with a disease like a flu virus with a disease, and then he prescribes some medication. The patient drives to the drugstore and he bought the medication. So like that, he will be able to, like read like an English. The data model should be readable by an English. Okay, that is how you slowly build. You will understand. Like one important thing is, usually the JADE sessions in a very, very bigger organizations or in a deep dive or later part of the thing, you'll be given an opportunity to do the LDM, the JADE. But usually what company does is they will supply you manuals. They will supply you. Usually what you do is there'll be a database, and you quickly what you do is you install a software like Erwin, and then your first step is to reverse engineer whatever tables are there. You reverse engineer and then you try to infer the relationships between the tables, not entities. The reverse engineering methods only bring the tables, not entities. So a physical model only you will be able to see. From the physical model, you try to interpret how the logical model would have been designed. Like that, you reverse. You try to understand what are the tables are there, what is the primary key, how the relationships are there. You try to infer, and then you slowly build the conceptual model. And you ask questions, and you conduct JD sessions. Like that, slowly build. It is not like one magic bullet. It takes time.
Okay, so means what I'm trying to say is, see, whenever we join any company, so we will be knowing the nature of the business, right?
Yes.
So
Who will tell you?
accordingly,
Who will
the
tell you?
data
Like you
modeler.
are a data architect. You are a data architect. Who will tell you the business? Somebody from the business team have to engage with you and schedule multiple sessions to walk you through the business.
Correct,
And
correct.
if they have any documents, like manuals, documents, use cases, any written materials, then they will share that with you.
Yeah, got it. Means first we need to understand the nature of the business, then
Absolutely.
we need to start
Absolutely.
our work. Okay.
Absolutely. Like, forget about the technical. To
Mm.
do the conceptual and logical, you must be thorough and understand how the business is being done. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So with the yesterday's one, I want you to do, these are all the two exercises that we are repeatedly going to do that. So take 5 minutes and look at the number 2. Take 5 minutes. Now you are thorough, you are seasoned. How do you identify, how do you look for nouns, and how do you identify entities? How do you qualify entities? Can you list the entities in number 2?
Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. 5
Mhm.
minutes.
Hello, sir. One question. Okay, you mentioned
Yeah.
about noun, right? Could you please
Yes.
explain that noun once again to us so that?
So noun is nothing but just a name. Noun is nothing but a name. Name of anything. Name of a living being is called a noun.
Okay.
Name of a living being or name of a being is called a noun. For example, a football club is a noun. It's a name. Has is a verb. Again, a name is again a noun. And then the ground, a noun, because it's a name of a thing. It may be living thing, living being, or like a non-living being. A ground
Okay.
is a noun.
Thank you. Got it. And sir, what do you call this 5 lines? Is it a paragraph or is it a business statement? What do you call this one?
We used to call it as a case study or a business case.
Okay. Thank you.
Purposefully, I wrote to confuse you, but you got to be vigilant.
Okay.
Actually, it is means what you mentioned is correct. It is getting confused.
Yeah. Purposefully, like it's being
Not
done
able
to,
to understand the attribute and the entity.
yeah, exactly. So specifically, I mean, purposely it is done like this because I want to excuse you so that when you go actual scenario, you'll be feeling more comfortable, much comfortable rather than this. Because in
Oh,
actual scenario, it will be much, like easier.
okay.
But here I wanted to, like give a tougher situation. So one more thing is whenever you try to identify, let me take a step back. So in a simple nutshell, what you're trying to do is, hey, There are so many data. Remember, every data points that whatever you interpret is attribute. Let's assume. So what you're trying to do is group the attributes into an entity. That's it. Like identify something and assume it's an attribute and then group them. Hey, where this will go? Where this will go? How do you group them into one piece? One piece called entity. Group the attributes as an entity. Group the attributes as an entity. That's all. Okay. Now,
Okay.
so who is going to share their list of entities now?
Actually, I have written in a book.
Yeah, even I'm writing in my notes.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I can probably share what I have written
Yeah.
verbally.
Yeah. Just read through.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the story, there is what entities I've identified is 5 entities.
Uh-huh.
One is the club, second is player, third is manager, fourth is league, and 5 is match. For matches, I don't know. It has to be singular, like match. So match.
Okay.
Now, how I also did one step ahead here. I try to join them out somehow to make a story, and I see match is in the center. Match belongs to a league,
Okay.
and in a league you will have clubs participating, and to a club we will have associated players and manager.
Okay. Naren, do you want to add anything? Naren?
Actually, in that football club, okay, we have so many entity means attributes are there, like registration number, name, age. All these things will go under full football club, right? Means whenever if any person is getting registered, also all these
Okay.
needs to be.
Let's so what you do is, in a simple nutshell, I will walk you through and then you follow the style.
Okay.
First, you read the line, read the sentence. When you read the sentence, you just list, have a two columns kind of thing. One column is entities, another column is attributes, something like that. Rather, you can combine. Later, you can combine. Like for example, you read a football club. Okay, football club is an entity, has a name. So football club has a name. That means name becomes the primary
Attribute.
key. Attribute, exactly. Exactly. So the name goes inside the football club. Okay. Football club is an entity, name is an attribute. Perfect. Excellent. And a ground. Ground is an entity and is made up of players. Players, not players. Player is an entity. So there are three entities: football club, ground, player. These guys are associated. See, ground is made up of players. Ground, football club, ground, player. You have three entities. Three are associated because everything is coming under one line, one sentence. So now these three things are associated. Don't call it related, but this time I call it as associated. Now it's done. Clear? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Now, a player can play for only one club and the manager. A player we already identified. Can play as a verb for only one club. These are all the business rules. Forget about all this stuff. And then a club we have already identified and a manager. Manager is a person and a noun. Now we have a new entity, manager. Okay. Or the manager may go as an attribute inside a club, or we don't know at this point of time. Just identify a noun, singular, manager. Okay. Represented by his name, manages a club. So the manager entity is related to a club. Clear? Now, a footballer is nothing but a player. So footballer has a registration number, name, and age. Very simple. The player entity we identified has three attributes: registration number, name, and age. Done. A club manager. we said we identified as a manager. You can rephrase it as club manager. A club manager also buys players. These are all business rules. A club plays against each other club. So that means there are more than one club. That means in a league. So let me take a step back. Each club plays each other in a club in a league. So that means a league is again a concept. A league is an entity, and then there are two clubs, because any league must be played by two clubs, isn't it? Like only one club cannot play. So that means the football club comes twice. I mean, two clubs has to play. These are all business rules. And matches. So match is an entity and have a date, venue, and score. So match entity have date, venue, and score. Let me rephrase it. How many entities we identified? Football club, ground, player, manager, and
League.
league, and what else? That's
Ground.
it.
That's it. That's it.
Ground. And we know that some of the attributes will go inside the other. I am going to share you the logical data model done for this. I mean, the conceptual data model. Don't take screenshot because you are going to do the exercise. Okay.
Okay.
For high level, I just want to, like appreciate you, and I'm going to share this. Okay.
One question, Ravi. Oh, see, like here we are talking about a club, right? And is this club related only to a football, or is there any other club related
That
to
is what
activities also?
purposefully I haven't given much details at this point of time. I want to confuse you.
Okay.
I want to confuse you and how generically we can design this, because most of the time you wouldn't be given all of the answers at one shot. So when you design your mind, I want your brain should be tuned in such a way, you should design it in a very generically. However you move, it should be flexible enough to move forward. Okay, very generically. I want you to wireframe, I mean, you frame your brain. I want you to program your brain. That's why I'm not giving much details. I'm not giving, like I wanted to confuse you like that. How I want to share with you how generically we can design, which will help you. Okay.
Yeah, and one more question, Ravi.
Yeah.
Now we are talking about a manager, right? So
Yes.
manager, it's a title here. Fine.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that means for this manager, whether we need to design an entity called person, is it okay? So that football player and as well as
that comes later. I mean, that is a deep dive into the deep data modeling.
okay.
We'll first understand the basics and then slowly build.
Thank you.
You are right. So what will happen is, like most of the time, with the given information, you should come up with the high level conceptual design and then go back to the business. Because when you want to go back to the business, you cannot go just simply, okay, you answer me like that. You cannot ask. What you do is you come up with your understanding of conceptual model and you give a walkthrough, and then he will stop you. No, 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 this is not now. This is not how it is working. That is what we want. That is what we want. He want to identify, you want him to identify the mistakes and then fine tune. So what I'm saying is, with the given information, how best you can design an approximate conceptual model and then go back to him. It is not that you get all the answers and then design. No, it doesn't work in that way. It's a, like iterative kind of exercise. Okay.
But in the conceptual level, see what and all we are going to identify: entities, attributes,
No.
and no,
Main thing
only
is
entity.
you identify entities and the associations, possibly primary keys, at least one attribute. Because when you design an entity, the mandatory rule is when you design the entity, you must have one attribute at least. One attribute. If the attribute is not given explicitly, you can assume. You assume. Okay. Like for example, football club. If they haven't given anything, football club ID, you can say. Football club name, you can say. If they haven't given, you identify. I mean, you assume things. An entity should be identified with a name and with one attribute, that is default primary key. And you can add more attributes. Doesn't matter. So conceptual model consists of high level entities, one attribute, that is default primary key, and then the associations between the entities. That's what you're going to do, nothing else.
Okay.
I'm going to share now. Don't take screenshot. You are going to do the exercise. I'm going to share with you a tentative conceptual data model. See whether your understanding is right. Okay. So what will we identify? Football club we identified. Ground we identified. League we identified. We identified the player. We identified the manager. Leave the club manager. We will come to that later. But whether our identification of the entities are right or wrong, that's all. For example, football club, yes. Football club is an entity. Club name is one attribute, and it's a primary key. Ground is an entity. See, ground ID is not given in the context. You see here, ground ID is not given here. But we assumed that because when you create an entity, it's mandatory to have a primary key. So you assume, like you make an assumption, a ground ID or ground name also. If the same ground name, for example, in United States, the same name cities are available like at least 7 or 8. So I'm staying in a city called Newark. The Newark city is very famous in the East Coast near New Jersey. So like that, how do you uniquely identify a location is usually not by a name, by an ID, because ID you allocate once. So ground is an entity, the primary key is ground ID. Football club is an entity, club name, because it is given. The club name is given as a one of the attributes, so you identify as a primary key. Then league is given, and then you assume the match ID. You assume, okay, league, okay, what will happen? You can call league ID, whatever you are comfortable, like league. You know that league is played between two clubs. You see, two clubs. You represent two. That we will come later. There's a relationship, but just for you. What do you add? You add like score. So what will happen in a league? Imagine a cricket. What will happen in a match? Two teams will play, and then match ID, on what date the match is being held, and what is the score. You assume, you add, then come to the player. See here, there is no right or wrong answer. Just I assumed player ID. You can say player name, that doesn't matter. So player is an entity. You identified a primary key and then you added name, player name. Remember when you, okay, we'll come to this later. So player name, registration number, his age, and manager name, and manager. I stop here for a second. Ask me questions if you have any.
Means we will not get any questions from the business analyst. See, whenever they will be sharing some information. If you take
Yes.
this one as an example, there is
Yes.
no group ground ID, there is no player ID.
Exactly.
So these informations are not there, right? So
Yes.
if we keep it, means will they ask any questions on these things?
So before they ask, you highlight this with a different color, let us say red color, and then when you walk through, at that point of time, I assumed from the discussions we had yesterday, I assumed a ground, the primary key. How do you uniquely identify a ground? Do you have a ground ID? Do you have a ground registration number? What do you have? Then he will tell you, no. We have a ground registration number. It is available in the lease. Okay, fine, thank you. You make a note. That's it. Next time when you go, the ground ID will be changed to ground leasing number. Because you don't know at this point of time. Because the rule is you cannot create an entity without a primary key. You cannot have just a dummy box. No, by rule. You must have something, the primary key. So the something is you are identifying, you are highlighting with a red color, and then you go back and tell, hey, I identified, use a ground to play the matches, but I don't know how do you uniquely identify a ground. You tell me, how do you uniquely identify a ground? Do you use a lease number? Do you use a ground ID? And then you ask further question, how do you uniquely identify a ground leasing number? Okay, ground leasing number means Don't you have two leasing numbers? Like, for example, you cancel the lease, you create another lease, so there'll be a new leasing number. What will happen to the old number? Like, you go on, ask questions,
Uh, I had a question around this football club. When now again, maybe it relates to the question that I asked yesterday on the abstraction level. So in the problem statement, there is no indication that ground would have uh, further details around its maybe its location, its ID, or
Yes,
many other
yes,
things, right? So problem statement doesn't tell us that. However,
exactly.
in the end result, you landed up having ground as a independent entity rather than just being a name or number or being a simple characteristic field inside football club entity itself. So how you landed it up? Either you landed up making ground as an independent
So
entity after discussion, or
tell
how?
me one thing.
Yeah,
Is it Rajesh or Naren? Because I could not
yeah,
see here.
Rajesh.
Okay, Rajesh, tell me one thing. Is
Mhm.
ground an entity or an attribute?
First of all, it's an attribute
Okay, how do you say that?
because it's sitting inside football club as one of the field there.
No, no. Think in this way. A football club have its own attributes. Like, for example, football club ID, football club name,
Hmm.
football club capacity, football club
Hmm.
address. But a club is, let me take a step back. A club is, think in this way, a club is a imaginary entity where anybody can join and form a club, like you, me, and
Yeah.
Anthony, and join and form a club. Club is a place, or club is an entity where people can join and do something. But a ground is a place where all the matches are being held. Like, for example, Chepak Stadium, or like Mumbai Stadium, where two cricket teams are playing, is a ground, a stadium. Like in our terms, like a stadium. A stadium is a place where a cricket match can be done, or political events can be had, or any school can conduct any events. It's a
Hmm.
location. Football club is a thing. Ground is a location. So what we are saying is, in Mumbai Stadium, the cricket club plays a match. So clearly, ground is a location entity, football club is a thing entity, and both are related. The ground cannot become a attribute to something else,
The other approach
because
I could have
ground will
taken
have
is,
its own.
yeah,
Yeah.
other approach I could have taken here is, Ravi, that I would have ground as by just simple name. It can be
Absolutely.
Chinnaswamy Stadium, it can be Firozshah
Absolutely.
Kotla Stadium, anything like that. So I could have gone
Yes.
that way and just had a
Yes.
ground as one of the attribute or characteristic with the name. So,
Yes. Possible.
but
Yes.
how you
Possible.
landed up making or qualifying ground as an entity rather than just a name or a characteristic?
Sorry, come again your question.
So what I'm asking is from ground being just a name or one
Okay,
of the
so you are
characteristic field
asking
inside club.
why not ground be a just an attribute?
Yeah, just a simple
Okay.
character field inside football
Yes.
club. Yeah, one of the
Yes.
characteristics.
Possible. Yes. The answer is, as I told you in the first class, yesterday's class, there is no right or wrong answer.
Yeah,
Absolutely, there is no right or wrong answer. You are right, I am right, both are right.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
but will that survive? Will that answer all of your questions? Like, for example, today there is a ground. Assume the Chepak Stadium,
Uh-huh,
Chennai.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Tomorrow I'm going to change the name of the stadium, like MGR Stadium. I'm going to change. How are you going to affect that? Assume that is an attribute. Assume. I'm just assuming, okay?
Uh-huh,
Assume
uh-huh.
that the ground is an attribute within the football club or a league. Let's assume. You played for 2 years. There are 600 matches has been done. That means if you look at the table, what will happen is your ground column will be repeated 600 times. So every time in the table, the ground column will have Chepak Chennai, like that. Tomorrow, I am going to change the Chepak to MGR Stadium. Government issues an order. then what you need to do? You have to go inside the table and change 600 times entities. 600 entries you got to change. In a practical situation, when you go to in any company like Toyota will have 32 million rows. So out of 32 million rows, you design an entity and then a table, the entity converts into a table, and the table may have 1.6 million rows. So do you think that you can update 1.6 million rows? That is where the normalization rule comes, like you are highly likely to make mistakes.
Yeah,
So
but
in
then,
order to, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Please carry on. Yeah.
So in order to avoid such situations, what we will do is, if you have the ground as a separate entity, I can go and update that only one place. The probability of I making mistake in changing it to only one place is far, 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 far less than updating 1.2 million rows. That is the rule, that is the mathematics behind this design. So your question is right, your question is valid. Yes, it can be done. There is absolutely no wrong answer. You can say, hey, I don't want to create ground as a separate entity. I want to have that inside the club as an attribute. Go ahead. Feel free. Feel free.
But Ravi, if I
So
consider your
these things are,
scenario, yeah, even if I
okay.
consider your scenario, if you actually update, if you have to update like 1.6 million rows or whatever, where you have this reference of Chinnaswamy or whatever ground it is, if you have in the current setup, even if you identify that as an entity, you will have to update the foreign key inside the football club, right?
No,
So
no, no,
any
no,
more?
no, no. That's a concept.
No?
That's a wrong concept. That's what I'm
Okay.
telling you. We will come to that later. In the later class, I will tell you. The primary
Okay.
key, foreign key, the referential integrated relationship is built only for this purpose. You are supposed to update only the primary. For example, if you go inside the ground ID and change 01 to 02, done. Automatically, it will be propagated to the primary key. That is a concept. You cannot touch the foreign key. Period. That's rule. Rule. The moment you change the primary key, automatically it propagates. That's the
In the
rule.
respective tables or
Respect to child
related tables.
entities.
Okay,
Respect to
associated
child
tables.
entities. Referential
Hmm.
integrity. That's the rule.
Okay, so
Means
that's a good
primary, if you
limitation.
are changing it, foreign automatically it will change, right?
Automatically changes.
Ah,
That's the
But
law.
if you take this particular scenario, for example, see,
Mhm.
whenever we do normalization, means normalized one, if we go with that one, we will be having more tables, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
That
Doesn't
is
matter.
means again, who will decide that one?
Yes,
As a
you.
data modeler,
You.
we need to decide it,
Yes,
or
yes.
business analyst will guide us to
You
go
are
with
you are the authority.
denormalization or a normalized one.
You are the authority. What
Okay.
you are the highest authority in the company. You say this is how I design, period. You can argue, tell him, okay, you tell me why not this work? You ask me a question and we will see whether the model, like answers your questions, yes or no, in an efficient way. If you suggest an efficient way or a faster response way, then I will change. Till the time, no, this is right. That's it, done. You argue. You are free. So my question is, like, one more thing is, like, usually when you try to learn a Tableau or an Informatica, these are all science, or a Python program. These are all science. Like in Python programming, if you miss one comma or one full stop, it fails. It doesn't work.
Gone case, correct.
It doesn't. It will throw an error. Say, hey, it's not right. So those are all sciences. Science means 1 + 1 = 2. Nobody can change. But this one, what you are learning now, is more of an art, less of a science. If I ask you to draw a circle, do you think all of you, both and me and Anthony, all four will have the same circles? Never.
Not possible.
Not possible. But we tentatively draw a circle. Everything is right. It doesn't mean that Narayan is wrong, Rajesh is wrong. He also draw the circle. That's how it is. So remember this, this is not a science. I mean, you and me, we studied engineering. Our brain were, programmed the science way. Oh, what is right, what is wrong? This is an art. An art will come by practice, not by science. So just hanging in there. The more you practice, then you will be programmed to look the things in a different way. That's all. But as I told you, there is no right or wrong way. You can have ground ID into another entity. Perfect. Okay. So any questions?
Yeah, Ravi, one question. See, in your business use case or in this diagram, I don't see a relationship between the player and as well as the league. So, what kind of questions we must ask to the business analyst guys?
Okay, tell me one thing in cricket match. In cricket match, we will not relate Virat Kohli is playing in this. We always say India versus Pakistan. That's it. That's all we say.
Mm-hmm.
But India team consists of Virat Kohli. That's it. Done. So when you see in the league,
Mm-hmm.
football club or assume cricket club, India and Pakistan, you see the two lines. India
Mm-hmm.
is playing against Pakistan. Done. Now, if you see the football club to the player or to the club manager, if you see, okay, who is the manager of India cricket team? Gavaskar is the club manager. Gavaskar manages a team of players, Virat Kohli or how many players. That's how the relationship goes. The relationship in relational data modeling, you have to hop between the entities, how it's being related. You cannot have everything is related to one particular thing. That is not how it is designed. So the normalization helps you to separate separate the groupings. That is the beauty of normalization. We'll deep dive into it. But at high level, India versus Pakistan is played in a league. That's it. That it ends.
Yeah, I got it. See, India was Pakistan similarly like when they are playing hockey or football, right? How many
Mhm.
goals India has put and
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
opponent team has put. That can
Yeah,
be
that's all.
we can have that one in the league, right? But let us say like Virat Kohli scored how many runs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for that, whether we should ask question to the business analyst, that was my question.
No, no, no. Yeah, no, 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 no. So that one we will do an exercise for that
Okay,
in a
fine.
pure
Thank you.
cricket match. See, it's a different design. It's a different design. In that way, like in order to record how many runs he took, how many outs he did, how many balls we played, that's a little different play. The design will be a little different. You cannot match that with here. Because this is designed fully in mind with the given information.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
We didn't go to the, to that extent because it was not given. So first
Okay.
of all, when you design a logical data model or conceptual data model, go with what is explicitly given and make minimum assumptions. Like for example, ground ID is not given. I am assuming that ground ID is a primary key because that is mandatory needed in order to design a entity you need. That's why you are assuming. But other assumptions, do as necessary as possible. That's it. But don't go too beyond. I mean, too much. Okay. So is it clear, Naren and Rajesh?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay. Let's do one more exercise. This time you
Yeah.
guys will be able to do better. Come up with this. 5 minutes.
This is big.
Okay. Who is going first?
I can try.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Actually, I want to try this one, Rajesh.
Okay, please go ahead, good man.
Okay. I have identified entities and attributes as well.
Please.
Okay. Bus company is one of the entity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Route,
Mm-hmm.
town, driver,
Mm-hmm.
garage,
Mm-hmm.
and passenger.
Okay. Okay.
So should I tell the attributes as well?
Yeah, if possible. Like,
Okay. So bus under bus company, I'm thinking this bus will be their register number and size. And under route number will be there, one of the primary key. And under driver employee number will be their name, address, contact. So these things I have seen it.
excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
I have few more which I have.
Yeah.
So should I go ahead,
Yeah,
Naren, or
please.
you have anything more to mention?
Actually, I have written journey also, but I don't know.
Correct. You're
Yeah.
correct. I have identified that. So let me tell what I've identified. Okay, so a bus company, buses, town, route, journey, driver. Driver has associated address, so that's another one. Then for every route, you will have trips, different trips, which list which route that day bus was run and how many passengers it carried. Then I have garage, and then I also have vehicle type that captures what type of bus it is. So that vehicle type I have written. So in
Awesome.
total,
Yeah.
11 is what I see.
Awesome. I really appreciate the way you think. You are much ahead, like you are 1 mile ahead of, what I was imagining.
Thank you. I'm just trying, Ravi.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
learner.
Yeah. Let me
But this
share
is
my
very
screen.
interesting work. Yeah.
Let me share my screen. As long
Yeah.
as it's interesting, I'm happy, buddy.
But I remember you mentioned address has to be an entity, so that got in my head. I will make address always a. I don't know if you have made here. Okay, you've made as a attribute here. Okay.
Just take a look at it. Don't take screenshot because you're going to do this exercise. Don't take screenshot, but try to see this first iteration is, I want you to like program yourself how to identify an entity. Are we in the right track? Something like this.
Route, garage, driver.
Anything with hyphen that we will revisit later, but other than the hyphens, you see, like route bus, route stage, we will come to that later. But other than that, like for example, bus is an entity. Like bus company, whenever you read, for example, when you read you are working in Toyota, when you say a Toyota has, then Toyota is absolutely a noun. But who is interested in Toyota company information? Like that you know. So you can avoid that generally. So
Yeah.
bus
This
is an
is.
entity, route is an entity, stage is an entity, town is an entity, driver definitely is an entity, and garage. With the explicitly given information in the, like in the case study, these are all the entities because this is a logical data, conceptual data model, you're coming up with a high level entities. So you identified 11 entities that may be coming into logical model. That's fine, but the way you think is perfect.
So
As I
this
told you,
routes.
there is no right or wrong answer, but who is coming up with a less number of entities with a better relationships, but answer all of the questions, it's a best practice. That's all.
This is a good point. So we should after designing, identifying, we should actually optimize it also. Try
Absolutely.
to.
Absolutely. Like try to squeeze, like don't go identify, like if they give a paragraph, you go ahead and identify 70 entities. You can say, hey, it is now 9 entity. No. Don't do that. Who is good, who will identify less entities and a better relationship, but still he answers all of the questions without any exception, then he's the best.
Ravi, I understand route stages is something like a journey. A route stage is like a journey, right?
Yeah. So let's take a look at it. Where is journey?
Each route is
fifth line.
Which corresponds to a journey through some.
Yeah, see, as I told you, route and journey are redundant. Okay, British and US English kind of thing. You can call it that way. What is a route? A route is in which bus travels.
Stage means it's stop, right?
Yeah. Like both are similar or like same.
Actually, to me, I understood like this, that a route can be like a bigger path, and that is broken down into journeys.
Sure.
So
Absolutely. Multiple journeys or in vice versa. You can have it. Absolutely. So then there is a journey idea, all those stuff. Is it explicitly given that they are interested to store the data?
because they not exactly, because they're not carrying anything related to
disqualify
journey.
it. I understand the journey is a better, like journey is one of the entities because it's very much interested, grounded, but there is no explicit evidence that they wanted to store the data. So you can exclude that. So like that, you have to, disqualify. Route is, of course, you need it in which route, which bus is routing, like running, you need to know. Like if you go to a bus depot, then the manager is interested.
And even passenger also, we need to, you have not mentioned it.
Passengers information, like, if you are running a bus company, are you interested in number of passengers or
correct. So my point is that one only. So again, whenever we move from conceptual to logical, we need to take it out, right? Okay. Only business perspective we need to understand and we need to correct.
Absolutely.
And yesterday you have mentioned one more point. Whenever the entity names we are giving, you need to go with the space, correct? But here you have mentioned hyphen. You are going to discuss that one, right? At later point of time.
That we will discuss later. Why we did or what is the difference, all this stuff.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure you are thinking. I want to reprogram your brain to think in my way, or like in a data modeler way. It's an art. How do you think? How do you think to identify entity, qualify the entity, like optimize the entity kind of thing. So if you have understood the entities we identified here, if you agree with me, we can proceed further. Or if you have any questions, you can.
Why do you decided that vehicle type should not be an entity, rather it should be stored as one of the characteristic value?
You can have a vehicle type, like for example, bus type, or vehicle type. You can have an entity and then connect that with bus. What kind of buses are there? What kind of vehicles are there? Is it a Volvo or it is something like that? What is a registration, chassis type, all those stuff? Do you have those things here explicitly at this point?
Only like whether it is a type of double decker or a single, but it's just two. Yeah, can be single or double decked. Yeah,
that's right. Like, so single or double deck. Absolutely. So yes, in the previous case, somebody you mentioned, I didn't remember the names, but you can have vehicle type as one of the attribute within the bus, or you can have a vehicle type as an entity connect back with the bus. Both are good. You can have it.
No, you have mentioned this one, right? Who is going with less entities?
Exactly.
That's a good model, right?
That's a good
but
model.
In this particular case, see how we need to see this.
Yeah.
Keeping it separately or clubbing into another entity.
No. Like, for example, if you are given explicitly some information about that, then you have two choices. You can identify that as an entity, or you can add at an attribute. So in this case, like for example, since the vehicle vary in size and it can be single or double deck, to me, these things go inside as an attribute within the bus. Like for example, bus ID, one attribute is bus size, another attribute is single decked flag or type, bus type. In a very simple way, rather than creating multiple entities. So in that way, you are covering the information, you are not missing the information, but you're optimizing the number of entities. Okay? You can have a vehicle type, nothing wrong. Like since here is 4 or 5 entities, now we are counting whether it should have or not. But when you actually go as an in a company, you'll be designing, like for example, Cisco, I have designed 7,400 tables. So when such things come, this one entity doesn't matter. But what you will do is how much information you gather. Like for example, if you have, let us say you have 30 buses. The 30 buses is, the requirement is different than Toyota car company or enterprise. Like think in this way, a rental company who runs 2,000 buses. Then in that case, the vehicle type is a necessary, because tomorrow you are changing a vehicle. You are replacing a vehicle with another type. Then you have to update. So having you should think, immediately you should think, what is the size of the company? What is the frequency of changes? How much information that is needed? I mean, what is the importance of information that is needed to be stored? So the moment you think about an entity, all the things will run in your mind, and then you will decide, no, I'm not going to design this as an entity. Like for example, in this case, I assume, hey, it's a small bus company, runs 10 buses. Then for 10 buses, why do you want to create a separate entity? Push that guy inside into the bus. Or if you say enterprise car company, which runs 1,300 cars. No, in this case, vehicle type is a must. It's a case-to-case basis. But for this here, you don't know what is the size of the company. All those information you don't know here in this explicit exercise. So for the benefit of doubt, you optimize less number of entities, don't create an entity, go inside the bus, add an attribute, size is one of the attribute, vehicle type is another attribute. That's it, done. You make your own rules. Okay. Good. I really like and love the way you guys think and fastly approaching interactive, all this stuff. Good. This is enough for today exercise. I don't want to heat your brain more. And let us jump into our class per se. Any questions you can ask me?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a problem. Okay. When I was trying to upload the video, I got a message that the video is too big. Okay. Can we disconnect the session now and again rejoin so that I can have 2 sets of videos? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
So you want me to leave and relog?
Yep. After 1 minute, you please log. Okay.
Okay.